Captain Taemin stared at the star map floating above his command chair and felt the familiar weight of questions he was not allowed to ask. The holographic display showed thousands of star systems stretching across 3 arms of the galaxy, each one marked with the symbols of the 47 species that made up the Galactic Confederation. Trade routes glowed in soft blue lines connecting worlds where crystal beings sold songs to gas creatures who paid in pure mathematics. It was a beautiful map of a peaceful galaxy, except for one thing that had always bothered him. There was a hole in it. A perfect sphere of empty space sat right in the middle of the most populated sector, marked only with red warning symbols and the words Restricted Zone, Quarantine Protocol Active. No trade routes crossed it. No exploration missions entered it. No one talked about what was inside it. For 200 light years in every direction, the map simply ended as if someone had taken an eraser to the stars themselves. "Captain, we are approaching the border checkpoint," announced Navigator Hee-Jin from her station near the front of the bridge. Her young voice carried the excitement of someone who had only been assigned to border patrol for 3 months. She still found the mystery fascinating rather than frustrating. "Maintain standard distance," Taemin replied, settling back in his chair. The GCS Meridian was a mid-size patrol vessel built for routine missions along the outer edges of Confederation space. Today, they were doing what they had done every week for the past 5 years. Flying along the quarantine border, checking the quantum beacons that marked the boundary, and making sure no one tried to cross into the forbidden zone. It was boring work, which was exactly how the Confederation liked it. "Sir, I'm getting some strange readings from Beacon 7, Hye-Jin said, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "The maintenance schedule shows it was last serviced by a Confederation crew 6 months ago, but the power levels and quantum signatures look like it was worked on yesterday." Taemin felt a cold feeling in his stomach. In 5 years of patrol, duty. The beacons had never shown anything unusual. They were simple devices that broadcast a warning signal and marked the boundary of the quarantine zone. There was no reason for them to be anything other than exactly what they appeared to. "B, run a full diagnostic," he ordered. "Check the maintenance logs again." Ambassador Woo-Sung looked up from the diplomatic pouch he had been studying in the corner of the bridge. The older man had joined their mission at the last station, carrying sealed orders that even Taemin was not allowed to read. He was supposed to observe the border patrol and report back to the Confederation Council, though he had not explained why this particular patrol was worth the attention of the diplomatic corps. "Perhaps I should examine those readings," Woo-Sung said, moving toward Hye-Jin's station with careful steps. His formal robes rustled softly as he walked, marking him as someone important enough to have real authority. Hye-Jin pulled up the data, streams, and pointed to the anomalies. "See here, Ambassador. The quantum resonance patterns match our technology, but the molecular signatures in the beacon housing show maintenance work that our records say never happened. It is like someone else serviced the beacon using our exact methods and materials." "Someone else," Woo-Sung repeated slowly. He was quiet for a long moment, studying the data. Then he turned to Taemin with an expression that seemed both resigned and determined. "Captain, I believe it is time you learned why I am really here." Taemin had been expecting this moment since Woo-Sung came aboard. No ambassador traveled to routine border patrols without a reason. "Go ahead, sir." "The quarantine zone is not empty," Woo-Sung began. 300 years ago, the Confederation made first contact with a species called humans. The initial meeting did not go well. There was a misunderstanding, and the human response was so far outside normal diplomatic protocols that the contact team recommended immediate isolation. Humans were placed under quarantine, and we have maintained the boundary ever since." Hye-Jin turned in her chair to stare at the ambassador. "There are people living in there? For 300 years? "Yes, though we have had no direct contact since the quarantine began. Our long-range sensors occasionally detect energy signatures, consistent with industrial activity, but we assumed they were primitive and would eventually contact us when they were ready for proper civilization." Taemin felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in his mind. "But if they are maintaining our beacons, they are not primitive." "No," Woo-Sung agreed. "They are not. Which brings me to why I am here. The Confederation needs something from human space, a rare element called trilithium that only exists in their region. Our scientists have developed new faster-than-light drives that require trilithium to function, and our current supplies will run out within 2 years. I carry orders to establish formal contact and negotiate for mining rights. After 300 years of ignoring them, Hyejin said. Yes. The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Taemin studied the star map again, seeing the empty zone with new eyes. If there really was an entire civilization in there, a civilization that had been alone for 3 centuries while the rest of the galaxy built trade networks and alliances around them, what had they been doing all this time? Sir, Hyejin said. Suddenly, I am receiving a transmission. From where? Taemin asked. From inside the quarantine zone. It is coming through on our standard diplomatic channel, but the signal is stronger than our own transmitters can produce. She paused, listening to something through her earpiece. Captain, they are transmitting detailed specifications for our ship, complete crew manifests, service records, even your personal efficiency ratings from last year. Wusung moved quickly to look over her shoulder. That information is classified. How could they possibly have access to Confederation personnel files? I do not know, sir, but there is more. They are sending technical data about our engines, our weapons systems, our life support, everything. It is like they have been studying us for years. Hyejin looked up with wide eyes. And there is a message. Just one line of text. What does it say? Taemin asked. We know you are there. We have been waiting. The bridge fell silent again. Outside the viewports, the stars looked the same as they always had. But everything felt different now. The empty zone on the map was not empty. The humans were not primitive. And somehow, they knew exactly who was coming to visit them. Taemin made a decision that felt both inevitable and terrifying. Hyejin, send a response. Tell them we request permission to enter their space for diplomatic contact. Sir, I am not sure we should send it. The reply came back so quickly that it must have been prepared in advance. Hyejin read it aloud with a voice that was barely steady. Permission granted. Follow these coordinates to Nexus Prime. Welcome to human space. We have much to discuss. New coordinates appeared on their navigation system, pointing deep into the quarantine zone to a location that their star charts said should be empty void. But as Taemin was learning, their star charts might not be as complete as the Confederation had always believed. He gave the order to change course, and the meridian turned toward the Forbidden Zone. Behind them, the quantum beacons continued, their endless transmission of warnings. Ahead of them, an unknown civilization waited with knowledge they should not have and technology that might be beyond anything the Confederation had seen. The quiet zone was quiet no longer. Commander Dae-hyun watched the Confederation ship change course toward human space and allowed himself a small smile. After 3 weeks of tracking the GCS meridian from hidden observation posts, the moment he had been preparing for his entire career was finally beginning. The ship appeared as a small dot on his tactical display, but he knew everything about it from the molecular composition of its hull plating to the personal habits of its crew members. Meridian is following the coordinates as expected, reported Lieutenant Seok from the sensor station. Estimated arrival at Nexus Prime in 14 hours. Good. Dr. Yoon-ji, are your files ready? Ready and updated as of this morning, came the reply from the research section of Sentry Post Omega. Dr. Yoon-ji had spent the last 20 years studying every species in the Confederation from careful distance, building psychological profiles and cultural analyses that would have impressed diplomats who had worked with aliens for centuries. The captain shows standard Altarian decision patterns with elevated curiosity scores. The navigator is young and ambitious, likely to push for more information than her superiors want to give. The ambassador carries authority, but shows stress. Indicators suggesting his mission parameters have recently changed. Dae-hyun nodded. Human intelligence gathering had always been thorough, but the Confederation had no idea just how thorough. Every major world, every trade route, every political development had been monitored and analyzed by teams of specialists who understood alien psychology better than the aliens understood themselves. Sir, Admiral Bo-Ra is requesting an update, announced Communications Officer Young Mai. Put her through. The hologram of Admiral Bo-Ra materialized above the command table, her expression serious but not concerned. She had been expecting this day for decades, and her preparations showed. in every detail of her posture and tone. "Status report, Commander. The Confederation ship is inbound as planned. Ambassador Wu Sung is carrying exactly the orders we predicted, requesting trilithium mining rights in exchange for formal diplomatic recognition. Their need for the element matches our projections from 18 months ago." And their reaction to our initial contact? Confusion followed by cautious acceptance. "The crew is struggling to understand how we obtained their classified information, but they have not yet grasped the full scope of our monitoring capabilities." Dae-hyun paused, checking his displays. "Admiral, they still believe they are making first contact with us?" Bo-Ra almost smiled at that. "In a sense, they are. We have been watching them for 3 centuries, but they have never seen us. This will be their first real glimpse of what humanity has become." The irony was not lost on any of them. The Confederation believed they were approaching a primitive civilization that had been cut off from galactic society since the failed first contact 300 years ago. What they were actually approaching was a species that had used those 3 centuries to study, learn, and develop technologies that made Confederation science look like children playing with simple tools. "Dr. Yun-ji, brief the commander on Confederation psychology," Bo-Ra ordered. "I want him ready for every possible reaction." Dr. Yun-ji's voice carried the confidence of someone who had spent decades proving her theories correct. "The Confederation operates on consensus building and gradual integration. They expect new species to be either significantly less advanced, requiring guidance, or roughly equivalent, requiring negotiation. They have no protocols for dealing with a species that might be more advanced than they are." "Which we are," Dae-hyun said. "By several centuries, in most areas. Their faster-than-light technology is based on theories we abandoned 200 years ago. Their weapons systems are designed for conflicts between similarly equipped opponents. Their stealth capabilities are essentially non-existent. But the real advantage is not technological." Explain. "Humans think differently. Every species in the Confederation developed space travel and galactic civilization through cooperation and gradual expansion. They assume that intelligence naturally leads to peaceful exploration and mutual understanding. Humans developed space travel while fighting wars with each other and have never stopped thinking like a species that might need to fight for survival at any moment." Dae-hyun understood. It was the foundation of human strategy for the past 3 centuries. While other species built trade networks and cultural exchanges, humans had built hidden military installations and developed technologies specifically designed to remain undetected. While other species assumed that advanced civilizations would be peaceful and cooperative, humans had prepared for the possibility that advanced civilizations might be hostile and aggressive. "The Confederation has prevented 3 major galactic wars without ever knowing it," Dr. Yun-ji continued. "Resource shortages that would have led to conflict were mysteriously resolved by the discovery of new mining sites. Communication breakdowns between aggressive species were corrected by equipment failures that forced them to use older, more reliable systems that happened to be less prone to misunderstanding. Expansionist military campaigns failed due to supply problems that appeared random but followed patterns that prevented the most dangerous outcomes. All human operations," Bo-Ra confirmed. "We have been the galactic peacekeepers for centuries, and they never knew we existed." The pride in her voice was justified, Dae-hyun thought. Humanity had chosen the most difficult path possible after first contact went wrong. Instead of revealing their capabilities and demanding recognition, they had retreated into carefully planned isolation and used their advanced technology to secretly protect the galaxy that had rejected them. It was a strategy that required patience, sacrifice, and absolute commitment to long-term thinking. "Admiral, the Meridian is requesting landing clearance at Nexus Prime," Young-mi reported. "Grant it. Commander, you know your orders. This contact is crucial. The Confederation is facing challenges that will require human assistance, but they cannot be allowed to feel inferior or threatened. They must believe they are entering an equal partnership." Dae-han understood the complexity of what they were attempting. Humanity needed to reveal enough of their capabilities to establish credibility and demonstrate value, but not so much that the Confederation felt conquered or manipulated. It was a diplomatic challenge that required precise control of information and careful management of alien psychology. "What about the trilithium mining request?" he asked. We have been mining trilithium efficiently for over a century. Our stockpiles could supply the entire Confederation for decades, but we will present it as a limited resource that requires careful negotiation. They need to feel like they are gaining something valuable through diplomacy rather than receiving charity from a superior civilization. The conversation ended, and Dae-hyun turned his attention to the final preparations. Nexus Prime was humanity's most impressive non-military installation, a massive space station that existed in normal space but used selective stealth technology to remain invisible until visitors were close enough to see it directly. It was designed to be impressive without being threatening, advanced without being incomprehensible. Dr. Yoonji, are the cultural briefing materials ready for Representative Kyung-soo? Ready and tailored specifically for this delegation. We know enough about their individual psychology to predict their reactions to different types of information and demonstrations. Good. This first meeting will determine whether we spend the next century as galactic partners or continue as hidden guardians. Lieutenant Seok looked up from his station with a puzzled expression. Sir, I do not understand something. If we have been protecting the galaxy for 300 years, why reveal ourselves now? Why not continue as we have been? Dae-hyun had asked the same question when he first received his assignment. The answer had taken him months to fully understand. Because the galaxy is changing, Lieutenant. The Confederation is facing new challenges that will require direct cooperation rather than hidden assistance. And because we have learned everything we can from observation, it is time to move from protection to partnership. Outside the station, the Meridian continued its approach to Nexus Prime, its crew unaware that they were flying toward a meeting that would change the balance of galactic civilization. Behind them, hidden sensors tracked their progress, while human ships moved through space using stealth technology that made them effectively invisible. The Watchers were about to become the Watched, and the galaxy would never be the same. The GCS Meridian dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates provided by the humans, and Captain Taemin felt his understanding of the universe shift in ways that would take years to fully process. According to every sensor on his ship, they had emerged into empty space exactly where their star charts indicated nothing should exist. But directly in front of them, close enough to reach out and touch, hung a space station larger than most planetary capitals. How is this possible? Navigator Hye-jin whispered, her hands frozen over her control panel. Our sensors show nothing until we look directly at it. And then suddenly, it is there. Ambassador Woo-sung moved to the main viewport, his diplomatic training failing to hide his amazement. The station was clearly artificial, with graceful curves and geometric patterns that suggested advanced engineering, but it had appeared so suddenly that his mind was struggling to accept what his eyes were telling him. Meridian, this is Nexus Prime Control, came a calm voice over their communication system. Welcome to human space. Please follow the guidance beacons to Docking Bay 7. Representative Kyung-soo is waiting to meet with your delegation. The guidance beacons materialized around their ship like stars being born, each one precisely positioned to create a safe approach corridor. The technology was similar to Confederation systems, but implemented with an elegance that spoke of centuries of refinement and improvement. Captain, Hye-jin said slowly, I am reading the station's power output, and it is impossible. The energy generation required to maintain something this size should be visible from several star systems away. But until we arrived here, our long-range sensors detected nothing. Taemin was beginning to understand that impossible might be a word they would need to use frequently in human space. Dock as directed. Ambassador, I assume you want to handle first contact protocols? I am not sure our protocols apply here, Woo-sung admitted. This station represents technology beyond anything in the Confederation. We may be dealing with a civilization that is significantly more advanced than our initial assessment suggested. The docking procedure went smoothly, guided by systems that seemed to understand their ship's specifications better than they did themselves. As they secured their vessel in the docking bay, Taemin noticed that the bay was sized perfectly for Confederation ships, despite being built by humans who supposedly had no contact with the outside galaxy for 3 centuries. Representative Kyung-soo met them at the airlock with a small delegation of humans who looked remarkably similar to other humanoid species in the Confederation, but carried themselves with a confidence that suggested they were completely comfortable with advanced technology. He was middle-aged by human standards, with the bearing of someone accustomed to important responsibilities. "Ambassador Wu Sung, Captain Tae Min, Navigator Hai Jin," he said, addressing each of them by name without introduction. "Welcome to Nexus Prime. I hope your journey was comfortable." The casual use of their names and ranks sent another chill through Tae Min. Human intelligence gathering was clearly far more sophisticated than anyone had imagined. "We appreciate your welcome," Wu Sung replied carefully, "though I admit we are surprised by the level of technology we are observing." "I understand your confusion," Kyung-soo said with what seemed like genuine sympathy. 3 centuries of isolation have given us time to develop in directions that may seem unusual compared to Confederation norms. Please, follow me. I would like to show you something that will help explain how we have spent our time." They walked through corridors that hummed with barely contained energy, past viewports that showed impossible views of space where stars seemed to bend and shift according to patterns that hurt to think about. Engineer Jin Woo joined them at the first major junction, carrying data tablets and wearing the expression of someone excited to show off his work. The station exists in normal space, but uses selective reality manipulation to control what can observe it and from what distance, Jin Woo explained as they walked. "We can make it visible to specific sensors while remaining invisible to others, or we can make it appear to be something entirely different, depending on the type of observation being used." Hyejin stopped walking. "Selective reality manipulation? That is not just advanced technology. That is rewriting the fundamental laws of physics." "Not rewriting," Jin Woo corrected gently. "Understanding. Physics works the same way it always has. We have simply learned to work with aspects of reality that other species have not discovered yet." They entered a massive chamber that looked out into space through transparent barriers that should not have been able to withstand the pressure differential. But what made Taemin's breath catch was not the view of space. It was the holographic display that filled the center of the room, showing real-time feeds from thousands of locations across the galaxy. "This is our monitoring center," Kyung-soo explained. "For 3 centuries we have been watching, learning, and occasionally helping to maintain galactic stability." The displays showed Confederation worlds, trade routes, and even the interiors of government buildings where important decisions were being made. The level of surveillance was comprehensive and sophisticated beyond anything Taemin had imagined possible. "You have been spying on us," Wu Sung said, though his tone suggested he was more impressed than offended. "We have been protecting you," corrected General So Young as she entered the chamber. Her military bearing was unmistakable, and the deference shown to her by the other humans marked her as someone with significant authority. 3 major galactic wars prevented, dozens of resource conflicts resolved before they could escalate, and several extinction-level threats eliminated before they could spread. She gestured to specific displays showing historical events that every Confederation citizen knew about. The great shortage of 2756 that had threatened to destabilize the entire galactic economy. The communication breakdown between the Vorthak and the Kepler emissaries that had nearly led to the first interspecies war in centuries. The mysterious collapse of the hegemony expansion that had threatened to consume 12 star systems. "Random events," Wu Sung said slowly. "Carefully orchestrated. Interventions," So Young replied. "We have been your silent partners for 3 centuries, preventing conflicts and ensuring stability while you built the peaceful civilization you have today." The implications were staggering. The Confederation had always prided itself on maintaining galactic peace through diplomacy and cooperation. But if the humans were telling the truth, that peace had only been possible because someone else was secretly managing the most dangerous threats. "Why?" Taemin asked. "Why protect a galaxy that had rejected you?" Kyung-soo's expression became thoughtful. "Because rejection was not the same as hostility. The first contact incident 300 years ago was a misunderstanding that revealed fundamental differences in how humans and other species approach conflict resolution. Your people found our methods disturbing, and perhaps they were right to be disturbed. We decided that the galaxy would be safer if we remained hidden until both sides were ready for proper contact." "And now you believe we are ready?" Wu Sung asked. "Now we believe it is necessary," General So Young said. "The galaxy is facing new challenges that will require direct cooperation rather than hidden assistance. Long-range sensors have detected something approaching from outside the galaxy, something that makes even our technology seem primitive by comparison. The Confederation will need humanity as an open ally, not a secret guardian. Engineer Jinwoo activated new displays showing sensor readings from the galactic edge. The energy signatures were unlike anything in the Confederation databases, suggesting technology that operated on principles no known species had discovered. We estimate 18 months before first contact, he said. Whatever is coming has capabilities that neither humans nor Confederation can handle alone, but together. Combining our stealth and defensive technologies with your diplomatic and cultural integration abilities, we might be able to establish peaceful contact with whatever is approaching. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans had not revealed themselves to trade for trilithium or to establish diplomatic relations. They had revealed themselves because the galaxy was about to face a challenge that would require the combined efforts of all known civilizations. The trilithium mining rights you came to negotiate, Kyung-Soo said gently. We have been mining trilithium efficiently for over a century. Our stockpiles could supply the entire Confederation for decades. We are willing to share our entire supply freely, along with the mining technologies and refinement processes we have developed. In exchange for what? Woo-sung asked. Partnership, General So-young said simply. True partnership, recognition of human sovereignty over our territory, representation in Confederation decision-making, and joint preparation for whatever is coming from outside the galaxy. Navigator Hye-jin looked up from the displays she had been studying with growing wonder. This changes everything. The galactic map, the balance of power, our understanding of our own history. Yes, Kyung-Soo agreed. It does. The question is whether the Confederation is ready for that change. Outside the viewports, space looked the same as it always had, but everyone in the chamber knew that everything had changed. Senator Ne-young stood on the bridge of the Confederation flagship and studied the tactical display showing 200 ships arranged in perfect formation around her vessel. The fleet represented the largest show of military force the Confederation had assembled in over a century, brought together in response to reports from Ambassador Woo-sung that defied everything the galactic government thought it knew about the quarantine zone. Senator, we are approaching the border, reported Fleet Commander Tae-wan, a veteran officer who had spent his career managing the delicate balance of galactic peace. Long-range sensors are detecting no hostile activity, but the readings we are getting from the coordinates Ambassador Woo-sung provided are unlike anything in our databases. Maintain formation and proceed as planned, Na-young ordered. She had read Woo-sung's reports 3 times and consulted with the Confederation's best scientists and strategists, but nothing had prepared her for the possibility that an advanced human civilization had been watching them for centuries. This contact will determine the future balance of power in the galaxy. We cannot afford to appear weak or unprepared. The irony of her statement would have amused Captain Min-ho if he had been listening to Confederation communications from his position aboard the stealth ship that had been shadowing the fleet since it left port. Instead, he was focused on coordinating with the dozen other human vessels that had taken positions around the Confederation formation without being detected. All ships report ready, announced his tactical officer, Lieutenant Hye-jin. The Confederation fleet is maintaining standard defensive posture and shows no awareness of our presence. Good. Remember, this is a demonstration, not a battle. We want to show capability without causing alarm. Min-ho studied his own tactical display, which showed both the Confederation ships and the human vessels that remained invisible to Confederation sensors. Dr. Yun-ji, are you ready with the analysis? Ready and transmitting, came the reply, from the research vessel that served as Min-ho's command support. Dr. Researcher Ye-jin had spent months preparing for this moment, analyzing 3 centuries of galactic conflict patterns and human intervention strategies. The Confederation leadership needs to understand that their peaceful galaxy was only possible because someone was preventing the wars they never knew were about to start. The human fleet had been preparing for this encounter for weeks, not because they expected violence, but because they needed to demonstrate capabilities that would establish credibility without triggering fear. It was a delicate balance that required precise coordination and perfect timing. Senator, we are receiving a transmission from human space, Fleet Commander Tae-wan announced aboard the Confederation flagship. They are welcoming us and providing coordinates for a diplomatic meeting. Accept the coordinates but maintain full alert status, Na Young replied. I want detailed sensor scans of everything we encounter. What the Confederation fleet encountered as they followed the coordinates was something their tactical computers struggled to process. Human ships began appearing around them, not approaching from distant positions, but materializing from apparently empty space. The vessels were sleek and advanced, clearly built using technology that operated on principles Confederation science had not discovered. Senator, we are surrounded, Taewan reported, his voice carefully controlled. 12 ships have appeared within weapons range, but they are not showing hostile intent. They appear to be matching our formation and speed. Na Young watched the tactical display update as the human ships took positions that mirrored the Confederation. Formation exactly. It was not a threatening maneuver, but it was clearly a demonstration of capability. The humans had approached a fleet of 200 ships without being detected and positioned themselves in a way that showed complete understanding of Confederation tactics. Are they armed? She asked. Unknown, Senator. Our sensors cannot penetrate. Their hull materials and their energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Captain Min Ho was listening to Confederation communications through systems that the aliens did not know existed, and he was pleased with their reactions, confusion and wariness, but not panic or aggression. The Confederation leadership was handling the situation exactly as human psychological profiles had predicted. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. The human ships began to perform maneuvers that should have been impossible. They phased in and out of normal space, moving faster than physics should have allowed, and most unnervingly, they began to perfectly replicate Confederation formations and tactics. Every movement the Confederation fleet made was instantly copied by the human vessels, creating a mirror image that demonstrated comprehensive knowledge of alien military doctrine. How are they doing this? Na Young demanded. Our tactics are classified information developed over centuries of experience. Senator, they are not just copying our movements, Taewan said, his voice filled with growing amazement. They are predicting them. Their ships are moving into position before we complete our formation changes. The demonstration continued for 30 minutes, with human ships showing capabilities that ranged from impossible to incomprehensible. They moved through space as if the normal laws of physics were suggestions rather than absolute rules, and they displayed knowledge of Confederation military science that should have taken decades of study to acquire. Enough, Na Young said finally. Request permission to communicate directly with the human commander. The response came immediately. Permission granted, Senator Na Young. Captain Min Ho will speak with you now. The fact that they knew her name and rank without introduction was no longer surprising, but it still sent a chill through the bridge crew. Senator Na Young, came Min Ho's voice over the communication system, speaking perfect Confederation standard with an accent that suggested formal language training. Welcome to human space. I apologize for the demonstration, but it was necessary to establish certain realities before our diplomatic discussions begin. And what realities are those, Captain? That human capabilities are not limited by the same technological constraints that govern Confederation science, that we have been studying your methods and capabilities for centuries, and that our intentions toward the Confederation have always been protective rather than aggressive. Na Young looked around the bridge at her officers, all of whom were struggling to process what they had witnessed. Your demonstration was impressive, Captain, but surrounding a diplomatic fleet with warships sends a rather different message about your intentions. Senator, with respect, you brought 200 ships to establish contact with a civilization you believed had been isolated for 3 centuries. From our perspective, your fleet represented the real show of force. The comment hung in the air for a moment before Na Young realized he was right. The Confederation had approached human space with overwhelming military superiority because they expected to be dealing with primitives. The humans had responded by demonstrating that military superiority was irrelevant when facing technology that operated outside known physical laws. Dr. Yejin, transmit the historical analysis, Min Ho ordered. New data began appearing on Confederation screens, showing detailed analyses of galactic events dating back 3 centuries. The Great Shortage of 2756, the Vorthak Emissary Crisis, the collapse of the hegemony expansion, and dozens of other incidents that Confederation historians considered random events or fortunate coincidences. These were not random events, Dr. Yejin's voice explained over the communication system. They were human operations designed to prevent galactic wars and maintain the peaceful civilization you have built. Every major crisis that could have destabilized the Confederation was resolved through carefully planned intervention. The data was comprehensive and detailed, showing supply line manipulations, communication system failures, and resource discoveries that had prevented conflicts before they could begin. The pattern was clear once it was revealed. Humanity had been the invisible hand maintaining galactic stability for 3 centuries. Why? Na-Young asked. Why protect a galaxy that had rejected you? Because rejection was not the same as hostility, Minho replied, and because a peaceful galaxy was in everyone's best interests, including ours. Senator Na-Young faced a choice that would determine the future of galactic civilization. She could attempt to contain or control humanity, which the demonstration had proved impossible. She could reject human partnership and try to maintain the status quo, which would mean giving up the protection they had unknowingly relied upon for centuries. Or she could accept that the galaxy had fundamentally changed, and that humanity was offering partnership rather than domination. Captain Minho, I would like to formally request a meeting between human leadership and the Confederation High Council to discuss terms for a mutual defense and cooperation agreement. Request accepted, Senator. Admiral Bo-Ra will be pleased to begin formal negotiations. As the human ships began to fade back into invisibility, Na-Young realized that the test had not been whether humanity could match Confederation power. The test had been whether the Confederation could accept that they had been junior partners in galactic civilization without ever knowing it. 6 months after first contact, Captain Taemin stood on the bridge of the joint exploration vessel GCS HFS Harmony and marveled at how much the galaxy had changed. The ship itself was a symbol of the new partnership between humanity and the Confederation, combining human stealth technology with Confederation diplomatic protocols to create something neither species could have built alone. Captain, we are approaching the edge of known space, announced Navigator He-Jin from her station. She had requested transfer to the Joint Exploration Program immediately after returning from human space, driven by curiosity about what lay beyond the boundaries of mapped territory. Long-range sensors are detecting energy signatures consistent with advanced technology. Human or Confederation signatures? Asked Commander Dae-Hyun, who served as the ship's tactical officer and human liaison. The integration of human and Confederation crew members had proceeded more smoothly than anyone had expected, largely because both species shared a genuine interest in exploration and discovery. Neither, Hyejin replied. The signatures match the readings we detected 6 months ago from whatever is approaching our galaxy from outside. We may be looking at forward scouts or automated probes. Taemin felt the familiar mixture of excitement and nervousness that came with genuine exploration. The Harmony was equipped with the most advanced sensors and defensive systems either species had developed, but they were about to make contact with something that might be beyond anything in their combined experience. Maintain stealth protocols and begin detailed scans, he ordered. Ambassador Wu-Sung, are you ready for potential first contact procedures? As ready as anyone can be, Wu-Sung replied from the diplomatic section of the bridge. His role had evolved significantly since the revelation of human capabilities, and he now served as the primary coordinator between human and Confederation governments. The joint contact protocols we developed should work for most scenarios, but we are essentially flying blind. The past 6 months had transformed galactic civilization in ways that historians would spend centuries analyzing. The formal dissolution of the quarantine zone had been only the beginning of changes that reached into every aspect of Confederation society. Human space was now officially recognized as sovereign territory, but more importantly, humanity had become the galaxy's acknowledged experts in defense and strategic planning. The trilithium trade had begun within weeks of first contact, but it was part of a much larger technology exchange that benefited both sides. Humans shared their advances in materials science, energy generation, and defensive systems. The Confederation shared their expertise in biological diversity, cultural integration, and large-scale resource management. Captain, I am detecting artificial structures, reported Lieutenant Siok from the science station. Multiple installations on the edge of our sensor range, but they do not match any known architectural patterns. Can you determine their purpose? Negative, sir. The technology is unlike anything in human or Confederation databases, but the energy output suggests they are active and possibly monitoring our approach. Commander Dae-hyun studied his tactical displays with the careful attention of someone who had spent his career preparing for unknown threats. Captain, I recommend we maintain maximum stealth and attempt passive observation before revealing our presence. It was advice that reflected the new joint approach to exploration. Human caution and Confederation curiosity balanced to create protocols that maximized both safety and learning opportunities. Agreed. Hai Jin, can you get us closer without being detected? The human stealth systems should be effective against anything using technology similar to ours, she replied, making adjustments to their approach vector. But if they are significantly more advanced, we might be visible regardless of our countermeasures. As they moved closer to the unknown installations, more details became visible. The structures were massive, clearly artificial, and built using principles that neither human nor Confederation science could immediately understand. They appeared to be monitoring stations or communication relays, positioned to observe the entire galaxy from outside its spiral arms. Ambassador, I think we need to consider the possibility that whatever is coming has been watching us for much longer than we realized, Taemin said quietly. Wu Sung nodded grimly. Just as humanity watched the Confederation for centuries before revealing themselves, we may be dealing with a species that has been studying galactic civilization from the beginning. Or longer, added Dr. Yunji over the communication system from her research lab. She had joined the exploration program to study whatever they encountered from outside the galaxy, and her preliminary analyses were both fascinating and concerning. Captain, the architectural patterns I am seeing suggest construction techniques that would require thousands of years to develop. These installations may predate the formation of the Confederation. The implications were staggering. If the approaching civilization had been observing the galaxy for millennia, they would have knowledge and capabilities that made even human technology seem primitive by comparison. But they would also understand galactic psychology and culture in ways that could make peaceful contact possible. Sir, we are receiving a transmission, He Jin announced suddenly. It is coming from the nearest installation, and it is addressing us directly. Content? Welcome, children of the Spiral Arms. We have been waiting for you to develop sufficient unity to merit contact. Please follow the guidance signals to Meeting Station 7. Representatives of the Confederation and humanity are expected. The casual mention of both species by name sent chills through the bridge crew. Whatever they were dealing with knew exactly who was approaching and had been expecting this contact. They knew we were coming, Dae-hyun observed. They knew we would eventually work together, Wu Sung corrected. This suggests that human Confederation partnership was not just inevitable, but necessary for whatever comes next. Taemin made the decision that felt both inevitable and terrifying. Accept the guidance signals and proceed to the meeting station. All stations prepare for contact with an unknown civilization that appears to have capabilities beyond our current understanding. As they followed the guidance signals toward Meeting Station 7, each member of the crew understood that they were participating in a moment that would define the future of galactic civilization. The discovery of human capabilities had changed the balance of power within known space. This contact would determine how that combined civilization would relate to whatever lay beyond. Captain, Dr. Yunji said over the communication system, I am analyzing the energy signatures from the meeting station, and I believe we are about to encounter representatives of a galactic gardener civilization. Explain. A species that seeds galaxies with primitive life and then watches their development over millions of years. They intervene only when emerging civilizations reach a level of unity and capability that makes them ready for broader contact. Humanity and the Confederation achieving partnership may have been the trigger they were waiting for. The meeting station appeared ahead of them, a structure so large and complex that their sensors struggled to map its full dimensions. It was clearly designed to accommodate multiple species with different environmental requirements, and its technology operated on principles that made human stealth systems and Confederation diplomatic protocols seem equally primitive. All stations. This is Captain Taemin. We are about to make contact with representatives of a civilization that may have been guiding galactic development for millions of years. Whatever we learn here will change our understanding of our place in the universe. As the Harmony approached the docking facilities of Meeting Station 7, Taemin reflected on how much had changed since the day he first wondered about the empty zone on the galactic maps. The quiet had ended when humanity revealed itself to the Confederation. Now a new quiet was ending as the galaxy prepared to take its place in something much larger than anyone had imagined. The map no longer ended at human space. Now it was about to expand beyond the galaxy itself, and the children of the Spiral Arms were finally ready to meet their gardeners. Outside the viewports, space looked the same as it always had, but everyone aboard the Harmony knew that everything was about to change again. The real exploration was just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same. Behind them, human and Confederation ships continued their joint patrols of civilized space, maintaining the peace that had taken centuries to achieve. Ahead of them, representatives of an ancient civilization waited to welcome the galaxy into a community that spanned multiple galaxies and perhaps millions of years of guided development. The quiet was ending, but the conversation that would follow would echo across the stars for generations to come.